Also like to thank Noel Simpson and Chad Pastorius from the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority for working with me and Senator Whitehouse and help put this together this evening. Now, back in 2007, I worked with my colleagues to create the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program in order to recognize and reward professionals who chose to serve our communities, our teachers, our firefighters, our healthcare workers, social workers, and the dedicated staff of many community-based organizations. We know the sacrifices, including the financial sacrifices you make in taking on these very challenging and very important jobs. In recognition of these sacrifices and to help communities retain qualified and experienced public servants, the law promised to forgive the remainder of student loan debt for individuals who completed 10 years of work in a public service job. I think that is more than a fair bargain for both the student and for the communities and for the public in general. But red tape and foot dragging by the prior administration made this promise of loan forgiveness a mirage for far too many. Now, with the new administration on the job, there is a renewed commitment at the Department of Education to cut through the red tape and deliver the benefits people have earned. The department is using its regulatory flexibilities during this national public health emergency to ease some of the strict rules which inhibited loan repayments, and it also is looking to make sure that everyone who kept their side of the bargain, made their payments, gets what they deserve, the forgiveness. As a result, so far, 320 Rhode Islanders have had the balance of their student loans forgiven since the initiative was announced last fall. But there are thousands more who may be able to benefit, and is of the essence. Some of the flexibilities are only available until the end of October. And if I leave you with one message, get started now. We have two experts, Noel and Chad, are going to walk you through the details, and they're available. In fact, we're lucky to have them to answer specific questions both this evening and at any time. And now let me recognize Senator Whitehouse. And Sheldon made an extremely important contribution to this program. He made and led the fight for technical corrections a few years ago that has really kept this program alive. So Sheldon, your comments, please.
Thank you, Senator Reed. It is good to be with the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority folks. I can just share my own experience, which was that the original program was so poorly designed and so poorly administered that it became an intense frustration, not just for individuals in public service with student loans who were intended to be the beneficiaries of this program, but to the point where even my staff became furious because it was such a badly run thing. We're accustomed to helping people work through federal bureaucracies, and we've developed, I think, pretty thick skins and a lot of patience for getting stuff done. But this was really uniquely badly designed, badly managed, and badly run. And the Biden administration, thank goodness, has rebooted a lot of this. And I think for Senator Reed and myself, our prime goal in all of this is to make sure that we are reaching as broadly as possible into Rhode Island. The forgiveness can be really considerable. Kristen Bauman, who was a librarian out on Block Island, fought her way through this program to the forgiveness of $46,000 in student loans. So we have real cases where we've delivered for real Rhode Islanders, but there's no natural, easy definition for who qualifies and who has the right kind of loans and has made the right kind of payments. So the more outreach we can do, the better. And for the Student Loan Authority to support us in pushing the word out, do not hesitate to contact the Student Loan Authority or Jack's office or mine. If you feel you qualify, and we can walk you through what we can do for you. And very often there can be a very, very significant benefit at the end which is just what we intended. Thanks.
Now we're going to turn it over to the experts. We're turning it over to Noel and Chad, who will walk you through the basics of the public service loan forgiveness process and the temporary opportunity to get credit for past payments. And without further ado, Noel and Chad, take it away, please.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Senator Reed and Senator Whitehouse, for hosting tonight's PSLF event. And also would like to thank their respective staffs who, without their help, it would be very difficult to be hosting this event. As Senator Reed had mentioned earlier, public service loan forgiveness was created in 2007 under the College Cost Reduction Act to provide federal student relief for those who have worked at least 10 years in public service. And Senator Whitehouse was very eloquent in explaining some of the frustration that some of the that many of the borrowers had experienced in trying to apply for this benefit. So almost 15 years later, borrowers are starting to feel some, albeit belated, relief under the program. And it's our goal this evening and at RISLA to increase public awareness about the benefits and eligibility regarding the program. So Aaron, if you could start the first slide, please, and then we could get started on tonight's program. So what you need to know to be able to qualify for this program is going to be presented here this evening. And so hopefully we'll be able to at least get you started in the application process. And if you're already in the application process, we can help you through some of the hoops that are part of the process. So next slide, please, Aaron. First, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about who RISLA is. And RISLA has been a community partner for almost 30 years in helping Rhode Island families with planning, preparing, and paying for college. And we wanted to share some general information about public service loan forgiveness and the newly introduced Waiver and temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program. RISLA is an informational resource for PSLF, and so for account-specific information, you should contact your federal loan servicer, would be the first place. And if you don't know who your servicer is, then you should go directly to the department's website at studentaid.gov. You can skip over the second slide, Aaron, and go right to the third slide. And for the rest of the slide deck, I'd like to introduce Chad Pastorius. Chad is a senior member of the RISLA team. He actually started here even before the public service loan forgiveness was enacted in 2007. So he's seen the whole history of how this program has evolved. And so he's well qualified to be able to talk about some of the past issues, and then also about what you need to do today in order to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So with that introduction, Chad, please take it away.
Thank you, Noel, and thank you, Senators Reed and Whitehouse, for your introductions and advocating for this important program. Public service loan forgiveness is an important topic for Rhode Islanders to be aware of and understand because so many of us can benefit from this program. In Rhode Island, there's 8,800 nonprofit organizations employing over 115,000 employees, and that's in addition to the nearly 50,000 state and municipal workers who may also be eligible for this program if they have qualifying education loans. First, I'm going to go over the PSLF program, which was created in 2007, and then we'll dig into details on the new PSLF waiver, which expands eligibility to many more Rhode Islanders. So what is PSLF? If you work for a nonprofit agency or the government, you may be eligible for student loan forgiveness after 10 years of repayment. The PSLF program forgives the remaining portion of your balance tax-free under the current tax code of your qualifying federal education student loans after 120 qualifying payments under a qualifying repayment plan while working for a qualifying employer. Under PSLF, you must be on an income-driven repayment plan in order to qualify for PSLF. The U.S. Department of Education encourages you to read about the pros and cons of income-driven plans before deciding to participate in one of those plans. Next slide, Eric. The qualifying loans under PSLF was limited to direct loans, including subsidized and unsubsidized, Stafford, Graduate Plus loans, and consolidation loans. Parent Plus loans are only eligible if consolidated under the direct consolidation loan program. Loans must not be defaulted in order to be eligible. And if your federal student loan was issued prior to July 1, 2010, it may have been made under the Federal Family Education Loan Program. And your lender could have been an organization like RISLA or Sallie Mae or many others. FFELP loans do not qualify for PSLF. However, if you consolidate these loans under the direct loan program, you can become eligible for PSLF. And since this waiver came around, RISLA has taken a lot of steps to make our existing loan portfolio, the borrowers in our portfolio, aware of this program so they can maximize any potential loan forgiveness. Next slide, please. What are qualifying payments under PSLF? They must have been made after October 1st, 2007 for the full amount due and within 15 days of the due date. Lump sum payments could count if there were less than 12 payments or until the next income-driven renewal date. Under income-driven plans, annually, the monthly payments are recalculated based on previous year's income, and so that's why the lump sum payments will only count up until the next income-driven renewal date. And only payments made while working for a qualifying employer under a qualifying plan are eligible. And payments made while in school, grace, deferment, or forbearance are not qualifying payments. Next slide, please. As we started to touch on, qualifying repayment plans are limited to income-driven repayment plans under PSLF. Income-driven repayment plans are payee, which is based on 10% of your discretionary income, repayee, which is also based on 10% of your discretionary income, but that program is expanded to a larger portion of borrowers. And then there's income-based repayment, which predates the payee and repay programs, and that's based on 15% of your discretionary income. And then the original income-driven repayment plan is income contingent repayment, or ICR, and that's based on 20% of your disposable income. So the oldest plan, ICR, generally results in a income-driven repayment plan monthly payment that's twice as much as payee and repayee. Next slide, please. What is qualifying employment for public service loan forgiveness? Qualifying employment for the PSLF program is not about the specific job you do, rather it's the employer that you work for. If a private contractor provides services to a nonprofit, that would not qualify because they're not technically an employee of the nonprofit or government entity. So what type of entities qualify for PSLF? Government organizations at any level, federal, state, local, or tribal. Not-for-profit organizations that are tax exempt under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. And then other types of not-for-profit organizations that are not tax exempt under 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code if their primary purpose is to provide certain types of qualifying public services. Serving as a full-time AmeriCorps or Peace Corps volunteer also counts as qualifying employment for PSLF. Next slide, please. And on to the waiver. The waiver, which was introduced in October of 2021, provides an opportunity for those who were previously denied due to missed or delinquent payments, missing paperwork, or payments made in payment plans other than an IDR plan, a new opportunity for eligibility. It also expands eligibility to many others who are not aware of PSLF or were not on the proper repayment plans or did not take the steps necessary to qualify. So what's new here, payments made prior to the consolidation are now eligible. So if you had a Perkins loan where your school was your lender, or a FFEL loan where someone like RISLA was your lender, any payments made prior to consolidating those with the Department of Ed under PSLF did not count, but under the waiver, they will count. So if you still have FFEL loans or Perkins loans, and you've been paying on those for 7, 8, 9 years, you could consolidate them and with a direct loan consolidation, and those previous monthly payments that were paid to your former, FFEL or Perkins servicers would count. The only exception here is a Parent Plus loan. The Parent Plus loan, the payments only count from the date of direct loan consolidation forward, with one exception that, I'm not quite sure how many borrowers would fall into this category, but if someone had existing Stafford or DL loans that they used to pay their tuition, and then they subsequently took out Parent Plus loans for a child, they could consolidate all of those together, and the payments would date back to when they began paying on their loans that they used to pay for their own education. So this is certainly new. Employment requirements still apply. You must be employed full-time and for a qualifying employer. So nothing's changed there. And why is it important to act now? Well, borrowers with FFEL and Perkins loans and also DL loans who may have had some hiccups in their payment history, they have until October 31st, 2022 to get their loan consolidated, if not already over with direct lending, and get their completed PSLF forms into the Department of Ed. All right, next slide, please. Employer certification. Under PSLF, applicants have to have their employment certified annually by their employer. And now, under the waiver, borrowers complete one PSL form for each employer for the entire time of employment with that employer. So it's much simpler. In the past, each year you'd have to have annual certifications, and I've heard that's where many of the applicants who were denied under the PSLF program, ran into hiccups if they're missing, 1 year of certification or something like that. But now you only need to do it once per employer. So if you only have direct loans, you just need to fill out the PSLF form for that eligible employer just once per employer. If you previously consolidated into direct loans, or if you still have FFEL or Perkins loans, you would need, if you still have FFEL or Perkins loans, you'd consolidate those loans with DL first, and then you'd file a PSL form for each eligible employer since you borrowed the original loans you're consolidating, and then one for also after consolidation of that loan. Next slide, please. Servicing transfers and PSLF certification. Fed Loan Servicing, who handled PSLF for the last several years and had their hands on a lot of the issues that took place, announced they're leaving the direct loan program. And accounts from Fed Loan Servicing have been transferred from Fed Loan Servicing to new servicers and will continue to be transferred. However, during the period that the repayment pause expires, loans will not be transferred. So that's right around May 1. Direct loans that have had a payment pause going back to March of 2020 as a result of pandemic relief, those loans, as scheduled now, will enter repayment. And FSA does anticipate that all accounts with Fed Loan Servicing will be transferred by the end of the year. Onto the other side of the slide, PSLF employment certification and forgiveness. The easiest way to do this is to use the PSLF help tool. You'll need your employer's federal ID. You can find that on your W-2 or maybe your pay stub. This tool has a database with the vast majority of eligible employers in it. So you can just plug in the employer ID. It'll pre-populate who that is, and then you're able to get on the way towards printing out the certification form that you'll need to provide to your employer to have them sign it and certify, and then package that with your PSLF application. As of February 7th, 2022, approximately 70,000 borrowers have received forgiveness, with the vast majority of those happening during the month of January 2022. I saw a more updated number showing that as of a couple of days ago, that number has grown to 100,000. So the Department of Ed is certainly putting a lot of resources towards getting these applications through. Next slide, please. The FSA ID. The first thing you'll need to get started is an FSA ID. Many people already have them from when they completed their FAFSA or took out direct loans. The link below here will help you reset your password if you do not remember it. But that's the first step to get started. Next slide. The next steps, figure out who your loan servicers are. Many people knew or know who their loan servicers are. However, during the payment pause, many direct lending loans, particularly those that have been with Fed Loan Servicing, have been transferred. So it's a good idea to visit that link at the top of the screen here and see who the current servicers are on your loan. And then also visit the managed loans portion of studentaid.gov and see, just verify your loan amounts, your loan types, and the payment plans that you're on. Next slide, please. This next page has useful links. There's a lot there. You can answer any of your questions related to PSLF, the temporary waiver, repayment plans, and the FAQs that are listed in the fourth link down here are very helpful for more nuanced questions. Next slide, please. And the final component is the PSLF application. Use the PSLF help tool for helping to generate your employer certification, and then download the application here and send that along with the certification to the Department of Ed's website, or fax it to the number there, and you'll be on your way. And from what I've heard, you'll receive an email when documents are received, and then the forgiveness just kind of happens. There isn't any communication. It just happens, and your balance is zeroed out. If anyone has any questions, please submit them to the chat box. We'll be happy to take as much time as we need to help out.